This is a video I found by Mr. Bones 40K. What is Blood Bowl? It's from 1 year ago, so it's recent. Doing this during the Super Bowl, good timing. Yeah, if only I knew how to play the game. That would have been really smart. But I don't know how to play, so yeah. What is Blood Bowl?
Hi, I'm Arthur, and
Hang on, I do want to see what that says. I love a good meme. Virgin 40K rerolls all the bad dice results. So many rulebooks, including one per army, spending like half an hour waiting for your next turn. Oh my gosh. Half an hour if you're lucky. Half an hour if you're lucky. Oh my gosh. Not sure if you win or lose even when you're tabled. Sci-fi war game is super overdone. Each unit has its own unique rules. You never remember them all. Facts. Facts. Constant rule arguments. Boring plain D6 system. Super expensive armies and hundreds of minis paint. Yes. Chad Blood Bowl. Few rerolls for high risk, high reward. Literal fantasy football. One main rulebook with optional league book and free PDFs. Oh, that's cool. Universal skill tables and only a few extraordinary skills. Opponent rolled bad 30 seconds in. Your turn. Oh, most touchdowns wins. Easy. Rules for breaking in universe rules. And rules for bribes if you're caught. You can bribe people. Uses D6, D8, D16. Oh. And iconic blocking dice. Okay, that's interesting. 11 dudes maximum, 16 maximum per team. Oh.
Hi, I'm Arthur, and I know this is not 40K, but I want you to set aside all your differences and please acknowledge something for me. When I say the words fantasy football, what do you think of? An online draft of your best possible team?
Yes, I think that. I actually, fun fact for you people, I was like teenager. I did a fantasy football league with my dad, and we had a fantasy football team. I'm not going to say the name of it because I don't know how easily that can get traced back to me, but it was a really funny, stupid name. We did decent. We had like, because like I picked out all the dudes and like he helped me like put everything together. And yeah, he helped me run it. It was good. It was fun. We didn't win, but we did really well.
Doing whatever they do to get points? Wrong. You think of an orc tackling a half in football padding so hard he explodes into gory chunks before remembering he's playing a ball game and runs to score a touchdown as orc cheerleaders so foul that to look upon them directly would cause you to seize up in terror for at least a few minutes, do a dance that would make Jesus cry. Yeah, fuck you, it's Blood Bowl time. Blood Bowl fucks so goddamn hard, and you cannot tell me otherwise. I know a lot of people tell me 40K is too hyper-masculine for me to be interested in it. Yeah? Well, have you considered that you should also add American gridiron football? It doesn't solve the problem, but it makes it so that just buying a box of black orcs gives you a fucking test boost. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of censor bleeps in this video because Blood Bowl kicks ass and is my favorite setting in the Warhammer universes. Do I know a lot of its lore? No, but I don't have to. Sometimes you just look at something and go, hell yeah. Which is a lot of
I can appreciate that.
Blood Bowl is beautiful. And I want to give a video dissecting its origins and a few of the most recognizable teams and maybe inspire a few of you folks to go out and grab the game. As if you're looking for more of the sauce that's in Space Marine 2, the passion that was used to make that game is in a lot of the digital Blood Bowl games like Blood Bowl 2 and Blood Bowl 3. So
I was just gonna say, I'm probably not gonna get like the actual board game, but I'll probably play the video game.
Give them a shot because they're really fun, and if you really like it, pick up one of the physical teams and maybe go visit a Games Workshop or your hobby shop and make some friends. But regardless,
friends? Who has those?
Did the Blood Bowl start? A long time ago, in the world of Warhammer Fantasy, an army of dwarves and an army of orcs were battling it out for survival atop an ancient mountain before finding a mystical cave. In said cave was a passageway leading to an ancient underground arena with various squares to denote placement. There there were stands covered in dust in the back of the cave, but more curious was the bizarre armor that was strewn about the arena, and it looked like there was armor for every single race imaginable. But it wasn't armor for combat, it was armor seemingly built for shock absorption. A dust-covered leather ball lay next to an ancient rule book that showed how to conduct an ancient religious rite in the name of an equally ancient god, Nuffle. What is Nuffle the god of? Blood Bowl. A dwarf ended up being the one to translate the text to everyone, and because of this, he was sort of the de facto rules guy to go to from now on, at least until he died, as even though he's long-lived, dwarves do die at some point. Something compelled those dwarves and orcs to play this game as a means to settle their differences, and for some reason, it worked. And thus, the first game of Blood Bowl in thousands of years has been played, launching weirdly into a golden age of peace and prosperity between all fantasy races in the world of Warhammer, as instead of waging wars, they simply played games of Blood Bowl to settle issues between cities, with tournaments to show supremacy,
if it works,
as well as having generous prizes. All races had representatives, and all cities for each race
we gotta cover that
as well.
Gotta cover that up. Don't
From humans to
eyes.
hobgoblins, there is multiple teams out there, and honestly, I just love this setting so goddamn much.
Chat.
The rules of the game have taken on many different iterations over the years, with various rules councils and the NAF, which is the main governing body over the Blood Bowl rule sets, as well as the others' teams and statistics, basically the chief organizers to make sure games actually happen. But the main set of rules is 11 players per team can be on the pitch at any given time. No more, but you can have less, as we'll cover now, because death on the Blood Bowl pitch is quite common, you'll come to find. As even though the rules of Blood Bowl are simple, where if you get the ball from your side of the field to your opponent's end zone, you get a point, or opposite-wise, if your opponent gets the ball to your end zone, they score a point. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. There is a few alternate win conditions, such as if every single player on your opponent's team is dead, you win, because they're disqualified for not having enough players to play the game. Though intentionally attempting to kill your opponents isn't necessarily legal, it doesn't mean people won't cheat, because punishments are not necessarily that harsh, to be completely honest.
Red card.
There are times when a team of orcs will forget they are even playing a game and slip on some brass knuckles or hoist in a few choppas from time to time just to get the job done. Let's not forget about the Skaven teams, which are known to, in the process of hiring skilled athletes, also hire skilled assassins, because if you die before the game starts, it means you can't play the game, and thus your team is likely going to be fed to Glark at the end of it, because of how shittily they're going to be playing. Blood Bowl is a simple game with relatively limitless ways of playing, even the lovely Dungeon Bowl, which is... okay, I'll be honest, I don't even know how to play Dungeon Bowl, but hey, it looks cool. These are but the basics, as there are a bunch more things to cover, but they don't matter too much, as there are leagues, tournaments, the various different interpolitical things, and the brands, as there are many different brands.
This little guy
how
is
could
ugly.
I forget our lovely hosts, Bob Bifford and Jim Johnson, as you're going to see them a lot, as they're pretty much iconic to the game. Love them too. So with all the basics out of the way, let's talk about a few teams. I'm not going to cover all of the teams, but I will cover the basic ones you need to know to understand the gist of the game itself. If you want to know more, just let me know in the comments. Maybe if this picks up, I'll do a video covering all the teams in the game. So before we get lost in the weeds further, let's cover the basics with the Reichland Reavers. The most recognizable of the human teams, the Reichland Reavers have a long and storied career of housing some of, if not the most talented players in the many leagues of the NAF. From humble beginnings, the original name for the Reichland Reavers was the Altdorf Acolytes, which ended up getting changed the second they started to pick up some praise from around the circuit. The Reavers are kind of the poster child of the game. I do like the way they look. Side of things, though in the most recent edition, it was the nobles of of the setting, but I digress.
Oh,
There
okay,
isn't much
that's
to know about
cool.
the Reavers, other than if you want to be okay at everything, but have nothing really great. Human teams in general are just the best for that. They do have good offense, good
his
defense,
teeth.
good
Oh,
mobility,
gosh.
and also they have access to ogres, which is kind of awesome because sometimes you just want to fuck slam an orc into a wall so hard he pops into green chunks.
Very
The
based.
Elfheim Eagles.
I
The
like the old
mainstay
art.
elf team of Blood Bowl, the Elfheim Eagles are really good at a lot of things, but the fun secret about them is that they're actually a combination of two teams. See, once upon a time, the original creation of this category of teams called Elven Union was when
That looks
two
like me,
failing
yellow
elven
and purple.
teams of Dark Elves and Wood Elves decided to combine together to save money. And thus, the Elfheim Eagles and every other Elven Union team was created. Basically, they can maximize the best both sides can do, but they're still elves, so they do elf things. As far as the Eagles go, they are faster than most teams and more agile, able to catch and throw far better than most other teams, though they do lack a lot in terms of offense and especially durability. They have the bones of birds, hollow and very, very fragile. They're about on par with humans in terms of actually offensive capabilities, but they do lack the ability to call out an ogre. So there is that. Just in general, don't make them fight head on against orcs, or else you're gonna be meeting up with a bunch of meaty crunches and the orcs walking home with a prize.
I was gonna say, I feel like the very fast agile is like very much up my alley, up my vibe. Well, of course, Aurelia, of course you would want to play the elves. That's just my vibe in general. How does a universe with a sport that allows murder still sound more civilized than the real world? I think we differ on that. Thank you for the super chat. I think we differ. I still think we as a society are more civilized than murder in a sport game.
The Gouged Eye. The quintessential orc team, the Gouged Eye, are one of the goofier teams in terms of their origin. They were a mostly feral tribe of orcs that lived in the mountains, and after conducting enough raids and kidnappings, they found out about Blood Bowl secondhand. Thinking the whole ordeal sounded pretty fun, they ended up kidnapping a coach to teach them how to play the game. Unfortunately, the person they kidnapped wasn't actually a coach and barely knew how to play the game. He taught them how to rush to the end zone with the ball to get a point, but he never taught them really anything else, which is why if you look at their win-loss ratio, it was 1 win to 75 losses of their first 76 games. It was yeah, it was pretty bad. They just were never taught how to pass the ball, catch the ball, or even throw the ball, to be honest. And the funny part is, the only reason why they won that one game is because they were going up against a halfling team that they smushed into a fine paste. Once they ended up finally kidnapping a different coach that was actually a decent coach, they learned how to pass the ball and become quite the championship team, if I do say so myself. With access to trolls, goblins, and orcs of all kinds, you will likely have some pretty high-end guys who are super resilient and strong and deal a lot of damage, but they cost a lot to put in your team, so to balance that out, you're gonna also have some low-end guys, like goblins, to pad things out. Them dudes are kinda fragile, but regular orcs and even black orcs are significantly stronger. Though the biggest weakness of an orc team in general is that they're a bit slow and they are very clumsy. But if you're gonna play Blood Bowl with orcs, you're probably not gonna actually be playing the game. You're probably gonna be playing it more like it's, well, a traditional game of Warhammer. The Dwarf Giants.
That's a great name. I love that name.
The mainstay dwarf team of Blood Bowl, the Dwarf Giants had an overly complicated name in the beginning, starting off as the Illuminated Seers of the Sacred Orb.
Wow.
Jesus. The newly rebranded and reignited Dwarf Giants went under a new coach that was actually one of their star players beforehand, which is Varric Varricson, which is a really stupid and funny name. Because of this new leadership, they immediately won a championship title and were set to be a powerhouse in the community. But tragedy struck when an orc warband decided to invade their home country, and they had to band together for a war that lasted well over 30 years. In the process, losing almost all of the old members and poor old Varric, the team was eventually reformed, and using the lessons taught to the remaining members and a bunch of new successful players and coaches, they went back on the scene and started to destroy the competition. good on them. If you
Look
play
at
a
those-
dwarf team,
look at those brass
you will
knuckles.
not move very well. You might not throw very far, but you will catch pretty decently, and you are really hard to crack. Like a stone, you move up in a wall
Okay.
and tackle the living shit out of your enemy, able to endure more or less any punishment any other team could dish out. They are probably in my top 5 teams of all time in terms of favoritism, but they're nowhere near as close to the top as Chaos Dwarves. The Skaven Blight Scramblers. The rattiest rat team that ever ratted, the Skaven Blight Scramblers were picked out to be the best of the best of the best of the rat mankind. See, the Skaven as a race had their own Blood Bowl league
I like their
for a
football
while
with the
because they were
Warpstone.
banned from the NAF, and this league was called the Warpstone Bowl. And from this bowl, one team rose to the top of the rankings in as dramatic a fashion as ratly possible. The Skaven Blight Scramblers. They were such a good Skaven team that the NAF had to start admitting the Skaven to traditional games of Blood Bowl in order to stave off criticisms of Ratman-based prejudice, which, okay, I will say prejudice against Skaven is impossible, as it's not even really prejudice, it's more just common fucking intelligence. As when Skaven teams were actually admitted, the reports of cheating in matches increased by well over 400%.
Yeah.
Because, well, that's what Skaven do. They
Yes.
are fast without being agile. They are weak in offense and defense, but they cheat like you wouldn't believe, and that's how they win games. You have guys with poison knives that have rules that only affect other players when the game is done. Like, you get a roll to see if they died of warpstone related cancer after being stabbed by a Skaven assassin, and
Oh my
honestly,
gosh.
I wouldn't have it be any other way. The Skaven Blight Scramblers are a perfect team if you want to play a bunch of pretty weak guys, but also want to make your opponent so red in the face that he can't think straight afterwards.
That
The
sounds so funny.
Guacamole Crater Gators.
No, that's not their name.
I'm just gonna let you know this now. If you play the Lizardmen teams, you are
his
in such a
eyeball.
weird spot. Because if you haven't noticed from any other settings for Warhammer, the Lizardman, their naming conventions are usually just puns, and I hate it. And that's because
Oh.
I'm the type of person you
Okay.
tell puns to, because I groan and show pain. I mean, for the love of God, their name is the Guacamole Crater Gators.
Okay, that's their actual name.
Their
Wow.
head coach, his name is actually just Totalitarian, which is unfortunate now that I...
That's so funny. I love that. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Give that guy a raise. That's so funny.
think about it. But there are others like that you will notice, but the history of the Lizardmen in Blood Bowl in terms of this team is actually long-standing and very complicated, as they originate so far back in the past that we're down to the single digits when regarding the year. So the game takes place in around like the year 2500. This team was founded in the year 31. So it's a long-standing team with a very
Wow.
relevant and important history. But how good are they on the pitch? Pretty good, actually. They have a lot of benefits. The biggest one being that the Lizardmen have a weird team structure, where they, unlike other teams that have specialties, the Lizardmen have every specialty divided up into their team. So, like, you want fast moving and agile, you use skinks, but they are made of paper and will basically disintegrate if an orc so much as sneezes near them. You want a very tough and resilient blocker who's pretty good at squaring up but not too good at damage. You get the Saurus. The Saurus are great, but they aren't fast and they're very clumsy, so catching and throwing balls is not really their thing. You just want to murder people? The Croxagore is always a fun option. That is
I
just
like
a
this mini.
12-foot upright walking alligator.
He's got a rope tied
Regardless,
around his mouth.
because they have all these beneficial pieces, your team comp is really going to play a big part in you winning or losing. They are fun, though, because of it. The Fire Mountain Gutbusters. These guys are just really funny. They're a team of ogres, where in lore it's stated they are kind of bad at the game of Blood Bowl, but no one likes going up against them because people end up getting eaten in the process. With a long-standing history of losing games but causing havoc, things came to a head when, after a multi-year losing streak, the Gutbusters lost to a goblin team of all things. The Sneaky Beakers is what they were called.
Yikes.
In order to mourn the loss of their career and their status, they actually decided to just eat their head coach, which they did, and their tactics actually started to improve afterwards because they ended up getting a new coach who was actually pretty good at inventing tactics to help them with their very specific style of play.
Yeah.
Which is...
I'd also be motivated to work really hard so I don't get eaten by my team. You know, that too. Huge motivating factor.
Honest here, if you play ogres as a team, you're not going to be playing Blood Bowl. You're actually going to be playing the game of how many of my opponent's players can I kill as quick as possible so that they literally could not stop me from walking the ball up the pitch as slow as possible to the end zone. The benefits of this team is you have 4 ogres on your side, which do not catch, they barely throw, and they don't move that much either, but they hit like a truck. And also, there's a gimmick where you can pick up the Noblars on your team, which are basically just big-nosed goblins, and throw them as hard as you can. Now, this is a great strategy because the Noblars are actually pretty agile and can catch things as well as humans do. And when you throw them, if they have the ball, they can land and then keep running afterwards. But, like, you can also just pick up a Noblar that doesn't have the ball and throw him at an enemy player, and hopefully it'll kill both of them at the same time. God, ogres are so bad, but they're so fun. The Doom Lords.
Oh, so edgy.
So even in Blood Bowl, the touch of chaos extends its meaty tendrils onto the pitch. There are teams for each god, but I'm gonna focus only on the undivided one. And if people want it, I'll grab the rest and make a compilation video of all the teams. But regardless, the Doom Lords are a team with a comedic win record of 19-2, because when they were competing in the beginning, instead of playing in traditional games, they actually entered an all-halfling game and won with several dozen casualties under their belt, which is really funny because basically they just massacred about 15 teams worth of halflings. And to be honest, it's all fair in Blood Bowl, right? The Doom Lords aren't all just a padded record, though. They actually went on to win the Chaos Cup, which is kind of a big deal. Other than that, what you should know is if you play the Doom Lords or even just a Chaos team in general, is you're basically humans, but ultra aggressive. All of your tactics are based around murdering the living hell out of everything on the other team, but you also are a bit quicker about it than ogres. Sometimes they even remember they are playing a sport ball game and actually get the ball to the other side, but other than that, it's more like it's just combat practice for aspiring chaos champions. The Champions of Death.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Are fun, as they are basically just a team of unpaid laborers who were raised from the dead by a sports-obsessed necromancer who wanted to make a good team of Blood Bowl players by stealing them from old dead players. To the point where the team owner got in trouble for it, I should note, because after games in which he killed opposing team members, he would sneak in after the funeral, raise said member, and bring them onto his team, which weirdly enough created a precedent that if you want to be a part of a Blood Bowl team now, you need to sign a contract that in the event of your death, you are still only allowed to work with your own team. To prevent necromancers from stealing you after games. The big thing about undead teams is the cost is cheap, and dead players tend to come back a lot easier. So your zombies will rise up even if they die mid-game, and even if they stay dead, if you're doing a league with your friends, you can keep buying more zombies for cheap as more or less the cost of nothing. Though your more expensive pieces are going to be kind of hard to replace if they do die. The Greenfield Grasshuggers. Okay, listen. If you play halflings, you're not going to win, but you're going to have a fun story to tell everyone after. I'm not kidding. There is very little benefits
They
in
are not the
playing
meta.
halfling teams other than they are really funny. They say it on every trailer for them and even on the back of the box. You're not going to win, but you're going to have fun. Brittle, slow, clumsy, and could barely hold the ball. The Greenfield Grass Huggers are the best team to ever be introduced from the halflings in the history of Blood Bowl, and their most important contribution to the history of the sport is that they are responsible that you can only have a set number of reserves for your players, because they went up against a Norska team who kept killing every halfling they saw instead of playing the game. And after the 700th or so substitute, the ref had to be called to make a judgment about this entire situation. That you should just stop bringing players out at a certain amount of corpses. No. Other than that, well, the halflings are bad. Sure, they can have 2 tree men who hit like a truck and are pretty tough, but if you're playing to win, you're not gonna have a great time with the halflings. But if you're just playing because you want to have fun, these meatball men are one of the funniest you can bring to a table. And that was Blood Bowl plus all the major teams you should probably know about.
Okay.
Was that all the teams? No. Was that even close? Close by half, I'd say. We didn't even talk about the gnomes. But regardless, I'm such a fan of this game. It's such a fun, casual experience to play, and I think more people should try it. It's probably the cheapest game to get into as far as GW products go, as once you have the team, that's kind of it. As long as you have a game board, you can pretty much play whenever. You could get the extra pieces, like extra tree men, extra players, and so on, but that's really only small shit, and once you have those, you don't really have anything else you need to add. What do you all think about Blood Bowl? What's your favorite team? And also, do you have any funny halfling stories? I need to know. So let me know in the comments, as well as remember to like and subscribe as it helps the channel. Special thanks to my channel members for supporting me, because with your help, I can support myself, pay my editors, and do this content full-time, as well as full-time prep for whatever 100K event that I'm trying to put together last minute. So if you want to support me, as well as gain access to additional and early content, then become a channel member today. Thanks once again for watching. Use code BONEZONE for 10% off GamerSups. And before I go, I just want to say, what do you find out there is a weaker team than the halflings? Yeah, the snotlings. Look at that. Holy shit. That is embarrassing.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Go follow Mr. Bones, like and subscribe. Okay, that's good. I'm convinced. I'll ring Sotek and be like, all right, Blood Bowl, I must learn. It sounds like fun.